Have you ever wondered about the true story behind the infamous Battle of Alcatraz? This tale of defiance and authority unfolds within the formidable walls of Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, the notorious maximum security prison perched on an island off the coast of San Francisco. Known as the Rock, Alcatraz was deemed virtually impregnable and was home to some of America's most dangerous criminals. Its isolation and rigorous security measures were designed to crush any dreams of escape. However, in the spring of 1946, the prison's seemingly unbreakable fortress was about to be tested. A group of audacious inmates, sick of their confined existence, began to plot an ambitious escape plan. At the helm were Bernard Coy, Marvin Hubbard, and Clarence Carnes, three men who were about to challenge the might of the American penal system. Coy, a convicted bank robber, was the brains behind the operation. Hubbard, a violent criminal with a long rap sheet, was the muscle. Young Carnes, the youngest man ever sentenced to Alcatraz, was a willing participant, eager to break free from the shackles of his sentence. Together, they meticulously crafted a strategy to overpower the guards, seize their weapons, and commandeer a cell block, a daring ploy that would set the stage for a dramatic confrontation. This was more than just an escape attempt. It was a direct challenge to the authority of the American justice system, a rebellion against their captors and the oppressive conditions of their imprisonment. As tensions simmered within the prison walls, Alcatraz was on the brink of its most infamous moment. So, what happened next? How did this audacious plan unfold, and what was its impact on the history of Alcatraz and the American criminal justice system? Let's delve into the events that led to this historic confrontation. On May 2, 1946, a meticulously planned escape attempt was set into motion. As the dawn broke, the air within the prison walls was thick with the anticipation of the audacious plot that was about to unfold. The architects of the plan, Bernard Coy, Marvin Hubbard, and Clarence Carnes, had spent countless hours strategizing, crafting a daring scheme that would either secure their freedom or seal their fate. Their plan was as bold as it was risky. It involved overpowering the guards, seizing their weapons, and taking control of the key areas within the prison complex. They knew that the odds were stacked against them, but the hope of freedom was a potent motivator. And so, armed with smuggled firearms and makeshift weapons, they launched their assault. As the plot unfolded, the prison was thrown into chaos. The inmates, with their carefully coordinated attack, managed to overpower the unsuspecting guards. One by one, they took control of several strategic areas within the prison. The guards, caught off guard by the sudden uprising, scrambled to regain control. But the inmates, fueled by desperation and determination, had the upper hand. But their plan didn't stop there. Their next move was to commandeer a cell block, barricading themselves inside and using it as a bargaining chip in their negotiations with the prison authorities. They also took guards and civilian employees hostage, further complicating the situation. The prison, once a symbol of unyielding authority, was now under the control of the inmates. The tables had turned, and for a brief moment, the inmates tasted a semblance of freedom within the prison walls. But as the hours passed, the situation grew increasingly dire. The prison authorities were relentless in their efforts to regain control, and the inmates knew that they were running against time. The prison was now under the control of the inmates. But the question that loomed in the air was, how long could they hold out? With the prison under their control, the inmates took guards and civilian employees hostage. The audacious coup by Bernard Coy, Marvin Hubbard, and Clarence Carnes had momentarily shifted the balance of power within Alcatraz's fortress-like walls. These hardened criminals, now in control of the cell block, had become unlikely commanders in a confrontation that would be remembered for generations to come. The standoff was a tense power play, a chess match where every move could spell victory or disaster. The inmates, knowing they were cornered, had to negotiate their way out of the prison, while the prison authorities, caught off guard, had to regain control without risking the lives of the hostages. Negotiations began, a delicate dance between rebellion and authority. The inmates demanded a boat for escape and amnesty for their actions, while the prison authorities, under no illusion about the gravity of the situation, tried to buy time, hoping to find a peaceful resolution. But as words volleyed back and forth, an impasse was reached. The inmates, aware of their dwindling chances, grew increasingly desperate. They threatened to kill hostages, ramping up the tension within the prison walls. On the other side, the prison authorities, realizing that their attempts at negotiation were failing, started preparing for a potential storming of the cell block. The standoff turned Alcatraz into a ticking time bomb. Each passing hour chipped away at the inmates' hopes of escape and the authorities' hopes for a peaceful resolution. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, every heartbeat echoing the ticking of a clock, every breath a reminder of the lives hanging in the balance. The prison, once a symbol of unyielding authority, had become an arena for a desperate struggle between justice and rebellion. The inmates, armed and dangerous, held the prison in a vice-like grip, while the authorities, grappling with the enormity of the situation, were left to ponder their next move. As the hours passed, the situation grew increasingly dire. The standoff at Alcatraz was far from over, and the worst was yet to come. The Battle of Alcatraz was reaching its crescendo, and the echoes of this confrontation would reverberate through the annals of criminal history. In response to the crisis, federal authorities mobilized a swift and decisive response. The escalating situation at Alcatraz had drawn the attention of the highest levels of government, leading to the deployment of one of the country's most formidable military units, the U.S. Marines. With their arrival, the scales of the battle began to tip. The Marines brought with them not just additional manpower, but also a wealth of tactical knowledge and experience. Their expertise in dealing with volatile situations was a crucial asset in the government's plan to regain control of the prison. Their presence bolstered the ranks of the beleaguered prison guards, providing them with the support they needed to mount a strong counteroffensive against the inmates. As the Marines descended upon the island, the battle within the prison walls intensified. The inmates, armed with smuggled weapons, put up a fierce fight, but the combined forces of law enforcement and military personnel proved to be an overwhelming force. The corridors of Alcatraz echoed with the sounds of gunfire and explosions, a grim testament to the seriousness of the situation. Day by day, hour by hour, the government forces methodically worked their way through the prison complex, their advance relentless and unyielding. They faced fierce resistance from the inmates, but their superior numbers and firepower gradually wore down the rebels' defenses. The inmates, who had started the uprising with such audacity, began to feel the tide turning against them. The cell block that had once been their stronghold was slowly but surely being reclaimed by the authorities. Despite their desperate attempts to hold their ground, they were steadily losing control. As the battle raged on, it became increasingly clear that the inmates' daring escape plan was unraveling. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and cornered within the very walls they had hoped to escape. The government's response had effectively quashed their rebellion, leaving them with little hope of victory. Despite their initial success, the inmates soon found themselves outnumbered and outgunned. The Battle of Alcatraz was far from over, but the government's decisive response had dealt a significant blow to the inmates' plans, setting the stage for the final showdown that was yet to come. After a grueling standoff, the tide began to turn against the inmates. The final moments of this historic confrontation were nothing short of dramatic. Bernard Coy and Marvin Hubbard, the masterminds behind the daring escape plan, met their end in a hail of gunfire. Clarence Carnes and the other surviving inmates, outnumbered and outgunned, were subdued and apprehended. The Battle of Alcatraz had reached a bloody conclusion. This was far from a typical prison riot. The audacious rebellion had escalated into a full-blown battle, with the intervention of the U.S. Marines, no less. The prison, once thought to be impregnable, had been shaken to its core. The aftermath was a grim tableau of the struggle that had taken place, a stark reminder of the lengths to which people will go when pushed to their limits. The impact of this confrontation was profound, prompting a reevaluation of security protocols within the American prison system. The authorities could no longer afford to underestimate the potential for rebellion within their walls. A series of reforms were put in place aimed at preventing similar incidents in the future. New measures included rigorous checks to prevent the smuggling of weapons and a renewed emphasis on maintaining control over all areas within the prison complex. But the Battle of Alcatraz was more than just a catalyst for change. It was a symbol of the perpetual struggle between authority and defiance. It demonstrated that even within the confines of a maximum security prison, the human spirit could not be easily quelled. The inmates may not have achieved their goal of escape, but their audacious attempt had sent a powerful message. The Battle of Alcatraz, a daring prison break turned bloody confrontation, has left an indelible mark on the annals of American criminal history. It serves as a stark reminder of the lengths people will go to in their pursuit of freedom and the formidable power of authority to maintain control. The Battle of Alcatraz remains a testament to the resilience of authority in the face of rebellion, leaving a lasting mark on the annals of American criminal history.